Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Eccentric Mind Podcast with your host, George Hernandez. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I guess I should explain the background to the people that are listening. I moved to Austin, Texas 2 weeks ago. Currently in Texas, which is crazy to think. This is actually my first podcast since moving, and we're here. We're really here. It's been new. It's strange. It's new. It's different and lonely. Yeah, it's pretty lonely. But I think based on, 3-4 years of just being alone for a long period of time, you get used to it. And fortunately, I am not alone. I have a God that I serve. So I think we're all right. We're not doing so bad. So I've been reflecting a little bit, not too much, on my period of risk taking. I just took a huge risk, and this isn't the first time I've made a decision like this. I've taken tons of risks over the past 5 years, half of a decade, and this is by far the biggest one. So in making my first risk in a few years, I am reflecting a lot on the first risk that I took, which was quitting my full-time job to pursue filmmaking. And yeah, I guess we'll just talk about it. And honestly, the whole basis of it is confidence is dangerous, but in the best way possible. Let's get into it. 2021, the best year of my life up to this point. I had just gotten out of the rock bottom in my life, which consisted of breaking up with my then ex-girlfriend at the time. I was broke, failing all my classes, 25 pounds overweight, and a shell of who I wanted to be. And it dawned upon me, the pain of staying the same hurt far more than the pain of changing. So I ended up losing 63 pounds in 7 months, changing the trajectory of my life for the better, my attitude for the better, and my perspective on life and my soul were in a much better position overall. But most importantly, I had something I'd never felt before: confidence. And it was just starting to rise to the surface. At this point, I was working out 6 times a week, working at a job that drained my soul. But this was essential because had this job been unaligned, had this job been everything I wanted it to be, I never would have anticipated or thought that I can go out and obtain more. This job was great, and the experience and the knowledge that I obtained were everything I needed in order for me to take the next step. But that it made me yearn for more, which was essential. At this time, all I wanted to become was a filmmaker. I remember watching movies 2 times a day. I remember researching equipment. I remember trying to go to Sauce and Rec Center so I could get with Shia LaBeouf and do his whole program that he was doing over there. I mean, it was all I wanted to do until I got the message.
I think you're underestimating the trajectory of what tomorrow is. Tomorrow's a very, very important day. I'm kind of freaking out in a sense, just because of what I have to do. But hopefully this works.
I received a message from a movie studio internship telling me they were having interviews for an internship in Los Angeles, 3 hours away from home at 12 p.m. So I get home contemplating, thinking whether or not I should go. Is this the right decision? I have a full-time job. I can't just call off all the time because I had already called off 2 times the week prior. So this just makes me look bad if I just decide to do something that I'm not entirely sure whether or not I'm going to make. Because it's scary. It's scary to just quit your job and go forward into something that you have no idea whether it's going to pan out. What am I going to do? How am I going to make money? Mom and dad need money. What am I going to do? It's just this whole conundrum inside of your head. So finally, I decided, after a lot of convincing, to wake up at 2:45 a.m. the next day, eat an overnight oats for comfort, head to the gym at 4 a.m., grab some Starbucks, come home, shower, grab all my belongings, and go to Los Angeles. Talking about this stuff is easy, but I remember vividly when I was headed towards Los Angeles, I remember coming up with all these hopeful thoughts that the train malfunctioned, that the kiosk didn't work and I was unable to buy myself a ticket, that what else was it? That I was late to the train and it took off before I was able to arrive, even though I was way too early. And this is the first insight that I had. When you're filled with confidence, take advantage of it, because that fuel will help you overcome little challenges your mind is dealing with at the time, which contributes to your confidence when you overcome them. It's easier to overcome doubt when you're backed by evidence that you show up for yourself and that you have self-belief that is unwavering. At this time, I did have a stack of evidence proving to me that I follow through on the things that I do. And because I had that long list of evidence right behind me, it was easier to follow through on this decision, because usually I don't fall back on my decisions. So when you have confidence in yourself, it is very essential to take advantage of it and to do things that are scary, advantageous for your growth, and risk worthy. Because when you take that risk, because you have that stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, it's harder to get you to stop. And these vantage points, these risks, these big walls right in front of you are easier to overcome because of the power and the self-belief and the confidence that you have in yourself. It's so lethal and so dangerous. If you're hesitating, you're killing that capacity to make hard decisions that lead you to where your soul needs to be. Having confidence doesn't mean it's time to be hesitant. It's time to be bold. Why? Because that energy is contagious, captivating, but most importantly, dangerously good for your life. Want to know how I know? My interview was at 12 p.m. that day. I arrived at 8 a.m. Went through a series of events that was like a fever dream that I still can't seem to forget. I remember vividly walking down Alameda Street, saying hello to some people that gave me some dirty looks, seeing the man right behind the dumpster who looked straight in through my soul and then went beneath the garbage can. Man, those were some events that put me into a state of fight or flight, because I walked through Alameda and never seen anything like that before. And I really did think I was going to die, which after that 30 minutes, 45 minutes of just a state of fight or flight, I was already getting ready to go home, because Los Angeles to me, or not even to me, to my body, was danger. And all I was looking for were exits, a way to evade, a way to escape this environment that I had no idea what I had gotten myself into. I remember texting my older brother telling me about what was happening and what was going on. And I still remember his message. And he said, "Yeah, dude, be careful. It is crazy out there," which ultimately reinforced the yearning and the wanting to leave, because where was I? What did I just get myself into? I need to leave. Fortunately, I didn't. I didn't leave. And that tiny action of staying contributed to my confidence furthermore, because I could have left, but I didn't. And leaving when I told myself I would do the interview, when I took the train to get there and planned my day around going, would have sabotaged my confidence, which leads me to my second insight. It's easy to make excuses for yourself when you have evidence that you snooze, that you don't show up, or that you miss. Aside from God seeing everything, so do you. You see every little decision, every micro decision that doesn't contribute to who you want to be, that your excuses are full of shit, and you could have done the thing but convinced yourself that you couldn't, which contributes to confidence. What contributes to confidence is not thinking highly of yourself. It's being stronger than your mind, who in the moment wants to reduce you into less. Overcoming little challenges your mind brings is what contributes to your confidence, but you have to have the courage in the first place to be able to take the big leap, which is easier when you've already built a well of confidence in yourself. So I convinced myself to go, because You woke up at 2:45, you planned your day around it, you brought your resume, you have your backpack, you had to go through all of that crap in Almeida, and you're less than 30 minutes away from a place where you wanted to be, which was a foot in the doorstep of Hollywood. Here is your chance. Why are you going to just back off? Because you were too scared? So I went. I waited a couple hours and showed up to the doorstep of the studio, and there were 50 people there. We're all waiting around. We're kind of having some conversation. There's some actors, there are producers, there are writers, all the like. The guy comes up in a very tight shirt. The guy comes up saying that the hiring percentage is minimal. We usually hire 1 to 5 people for these interviews. And this is a weekly interview group. So you're not the first group that's coming in for the interview. This is an entire week of interviews. We usually hire people with skills, experience, and availability. There are 3 rooms for the interview, and they're calling 3 people at a time out of these 50. And I see people coming out confident with smiles on their face, coming with suits and binders in their hand. And my confidence is starting to die down a little bit because here I am, pink flamingo backpack, green, buzz cut, 167 pounds, soaking wet, thinking, is this a waste of time? Should I just call it quits? I have a whole ass job at home. What am I doing here? I'm not going to get this. And then I hear my name, George Hernandez. I step up to the back of the room, and at this point, it seems as though I've already given up in myself, that I'm not even going to try this hard. I'm not going to put in an effort into trying to get this thing because, well, I already have my cushion back at home. There's no need. I'm walking to the back of the room. I step towards the studio, and it's an all-black room. I see the setup of this Lego studio right next to me. I see cameras. I see equipment. Then I step up to this revolving wooden doorstep or this staircase, and the glass door on that says CEO. And I'm waiting there for the interviewer to open the door for me. And I have a moment to myself for the first time, without fear, without worry, without any potential predicaments, without whether I need to get to this position at this time or be here at this time. For the first time, I get clarity. And I thought to myself, I want this more than anything. And for some reason, I thought about the episode Barry, where he says at the end, and it ends the episode, which is starting now. And I don't know why I had that thought, but at that point, it was just like Barry, where I was like, I want this more than anything. I step into the room, and I have a pretty interesting interview. I got out, gave the man a handshake, and walked out with pure joy. Because out of 50 people that were hired that day, 5 were hired. I was one of them. I didn't get hired because of the skills that I had. I was a 21-year-old green kid with no real world experience. I didn't get hired because of my looks. I was a buzz cut, 167 pounds, soaking wet kid with a pink mask and a pink flamingo backpack. I didn't get hired because of my knowledge of film. I couldn't name most of the films that they had created. Even less could I say I watched their movies. I got hired, at least this is what I think. I could be completely off topic here. I could just be completely wrong. I got hired because I stepped into that room and showed my heart to the CEO of the company. I got hired because I was vulnerable. I got hired because of my utter passion at the time for what I wanted to become, my confidence in myself, and the belief that I would get there. But also, what I had to overcome that brought me to the point of clarity that this is what I wanted. Man, it's just interesting that a lot of those challenges really proved to me what I wanted most. Because Man, it makes a lot of sense. It proved to me that this is what you want, George. And that's fine. It proved to me that you will go through the trenches in the specific moment, that you'll have to deal with all of these specific events, and you'll still decide to mull yourself over to this interview because that is what you want. That's cool. That's really cool, actually. What I had to overcome that brought me the point of clarity that this is what I wanted. And when I heard those words, come back on Tuesday, nothing was more worth it at the time. Which brings me to my last insight. If you believe in yourself, if you have belief in yourself, evidence of your confidence based on consistently showing up for you, then you're surely capable of much you don't even know yet. If you have belief in yourself, evidence of your confidence based on consistently showing up, then you're surely capable of much you don't even know of yet. Yeah. Belief comes from action. You can have some form of belief in yourself, but if you don't take action, that belief is going to drain itself dry. Action is what contributes to belief. And if you have evidence of the actions that you've taken in the past because God and you are constantly seeing what you're doing, then you're sure to show up to the challenges that come, having confidence in yourself to be able to overcome them. Not only that, but just in the act in and of itself of knowing what you've done in the past grants you so much more access and power because nobody else is doing the same things that you're doing. You have so much more power at your disposal. You can't find that out by staying in your fucking apartment. I'm talking to myself here. You can't find that out by doing nothing. When you're filled with confidence, take advantage of it because it has the capacity to be dangerous for your own good. It's the opportunity that must be taken advantage of because it's the conquering state. It's the unafraid to take initiative state. It's the state of being that allows you to take the first step anyway state. Most of us lack confidence in ourselves because we refuse to take action. We don't show up to the thing when we want to. We don't follow through on our plans. So you, the person who's stacking evidence towards the endeavors you want to fulfill, have an unfair advantage because you're doing what most don't, which is show up. Having something nobody else has. Confidence. Think of the time you stepped up to the girl. You had confidence in yourself. Think of the moment you asked the question in class. You had confidence in yourself. Or the time you had an answer, you spoke up because you had confidence in yourself. Confidence isn't important because you have the answer or you think you'll make it. Confidence is what makes you take the first step, which is the hardest step for most to take. You don't need confidence right after that because after taking the first step, all you can do is look back with confidence in yourself for taking the first step that gives you the power, the strength to endure, or follow through on whatever it is you're doing. When you have confidence, you're playing with the window of time and opportunity, one that is beset on your choices, decisions, and behaviors to go out into the world and conquer. That is why confidence is dangerous, and you must take advantage of it. Whew, that felt good. It's been a long time. Man, I've been wanting to do a podcast for so long, guys. For so long. It's like it's unfortunately, no, it's not. I think of so much other shit, but the podcast is what I've been wanting to do for a long period of time. So I'm grateful to just be up here and talking to you guys at once about just a very unique story. And, you know, this is kind of the thing that I was learning when I was writing about it today. And, you know, I just hope that I can continuously make more podcasts that are important to you guys and maybe can help you. I think that's what everybody kind of knows if you listen to the show. I just want to help. I feel this responsibility to share the things that I've gone through a specific amount of time. And I think we're changing a lot. my soul's really beginning to change a lot, and it's kind of scary. So, yeah, man. Austin, God, not having enough of a grip on myself on who I'm going to become. But yeah, that's enough for that. That's enough of that for this episode. We'll talk about that soon. Anyways, this has been the Eccentric Mind Podcast with your host, George Hernandez. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.